Now, this mom of three with a fourth on the way has impressively dialed in her legal life. Her practice is diversified between injury and business law. She has a growing business serving entrepreneurs that offers contract templates and monthly memberships. She works only 15 to 20 hours a week. Stick around for the whole session because the good stuff really starts flowing after the intro. Let's get started. Hi there, welcome back to the Grow with Cara show. Today we continue our interview series with successful attorney marketers. We're taking a close look at what's working, what's not, the specific steps these attorneys took to get to where they are. And remember, these are simple steps that you too can follow to get on a similar path to growth. Okay, let's get right to it. Today, our special guest is attorney Amber Gilormo. Amber is the founding attorney of Gilormo Injury Law in Georgia. She's also the founder of The Boutique Lawyer, where she provides legal resources to entrepreneurs. We're excited to have her here today. Welcome, Amber. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to kind of share this little bit of my corner of the internet with with everybody to kind of explain what's going on.
Yeah, we're excited to dive in. So to begin, Amber, tell us a little bit about your story. Why did you launch Gilormo Injury Law?
Right. So, starting out, I went into personal injury. I did a little bit of defense work. That was not for me. Okay. That's kind of boring. No offense to defense people out there, but it didn't work for me. So I went into personal injury. I worked for one of the largest PI firms in Georgia, in the Southeast in general, and learned a lot about the practice of law. I actually was pregnant with my first child, and I was like, oh no, I can't do this, have all those pregnancy crazy hormones going on. And I was a little bit overwhelmed with, of course, the demands of working in a law practice like that. You got to be there. It's not a 9 to 5. We all know that. It's like a many to many hour kind of situation. I needed a bit more flexibility. So I ultimately took, I don't know, like a year and a half for maternity leave. And then I got really bored and I was like, I'm going to do this myself. So I hung my own shingle. I think it was 2017. I started my personal injury law firm, and it's going really well. I had a business partner of sorts. Funny story, like our first year in business, I made $432, y'all. And that was my take home. So go me. Good thing I had a little bit of savings, right? But thankfully, we figured out kind of the way to reach the clients in our local market. We just did a lot of, networking with other doctors is how we started with, doctors. We didn't do much litigation in-house. We were mostly, we're trying to get the new cases. So we just really networked grassroots. And we were able to second year bring in multiple 7 figures in revenue, to where I was able to take home 7 figures, which was awesome. But like many business relationships go, this one went south a little bit. And so we kind of dissolved the partnership and went our separate ways. And, along the way, that, as you can imagine, messy kind of business divorce, I learned some valuable business lessons, and that kind of learning process cost me, so much money. Let's just say that, because I had to hire lawyers to write contracts for me, to dissolve the partnership, to just do a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars later, which, is a lot, especially for, new business owners, but it was a lot of money. And that's kind of what made me want to get into providing what I felt was needed in the market, which was resources for small businesses and new businesses. I didn't see anything out there when I personally started my law firm. Granted, now I see that there's lots, some other resources for small businesses, but at the time, like most people, when you try to go out on your own, it's a little bit, you're kind of operating on the go. You may not have $100,000 in savings. You may just be trying to hang a shingle, whether it's out of law school or when, for reasons you just want to go out on your own. But, I made some expensive mistakes, like business wise. So it made me want to start the boutique lawyer, where we, sell digital contract templates and things that in the educational courses for new business owners to hopefully help them, empower them, give them the tools they need to like operate, be protected, and start on a good foundation. So that's where we're at. We're doing two things here.
Yep.
But I have a boutique lawyer, and then I still have my law firm. I'm on my own, of course, and it's going pretty well. We're still in Georgia. We still have a roof over somewhere in my office. So, I mean, you know what? That's the best I can ask for.
That's great, and it makes so much sense that the boutique lawyer kind of came about in a very organic way, really out of necessity in a way,
Yeah.
from things that those expensive mistakes that unfortunately you went through. You're really able, I'm sure, to help other entrepreneurs avoid a lot of those pitfalls, right? I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, just having basics in place, like operating agreements. I mean, it's so important. Like with my original partnership, we had a bootleg one, and that's where the problems came from. It could have cost me in my law firm, which ultimately, thankfully, we were able to resolve fairly enough, but it was still an expensive resolution. So to be able to just give somebody something that's like, okay, sign this and go, and you'll be good. I mean, it's a great feeling. So it's more of a passion project than anything.
Yeah, that's really cool. What type of case are you typically handling now, primarily in the injury firm?
Yeah, so when I was in the partnership, we did high volume. We would have, I mean, for the size partnership we had two or three attorneys depending on what was going on at that particular time, and our staff would be somewhere around 10, 11 people. So we were doing like 500 to sometimes 1,500 active cases, actively treating cases at a time, and we do everything from like low-grade car wrecks to, you know, um, TBIs and catastrophic injuries. So when I went out on my own, and I had experienced this working for the large law firm too, I was very burnt out. And so I really tried to narrow the scope and type of injury that I took on. So now I'm predominantly taking on, things that catastrophic perhaps, but things that I take traumatic brain injuries, surgical cases, everything from auto to premises. Negligent security is something that I've found a niche in, and also child injuries. I'm a mom of three, soon to be four, and
Congrats. That's
thank you.
yeah.
And that's something I'm very passionate about. That I think we need, stronger ramifications for daycares in particular. There's a lot of problems that happen. So that's an area of the law that I feel strongly about. Helping parents navigate. So we do a lot of child injury cases.
That's a smart way to kind of niche down in that area, and you're able to kind of speak more directly to your target audience
Mhm.
in that way, which
Mhm.
I know you're really successful at doing on social, which we'll get into. How large is your team now? How many people are working with you?
So I have dramatically sized down, which I know a lot of people when we think marketing and growth, we're always like bigger is better. But for me, revenue wise, we're staying about the same. And my team is much smaller. It's about a team of three. And then we also have some like VAs. So, three full time, and then, several VAs depending on the task and the season.
Yeah, no, that's smart. At what rate has the firm grown over the years?
So this question is hard for me, like personally, because I haven't been focused on growing, like whether you think of hiring your employees, increasing your revenue. For me, it was finding more time.
Yeah.
Because I am a mom. I have, three kids. I have a husband too, which is like a fourth or fifth kid. I mean, I got to keep stacking them up. I don't know. I'm done with kids, but I just wanted more time.
Yeah,
So
no,
for
I
me, I have found that
yeah,
probably work on average maybe, I don't know, 15 to 20 hours a week.
yeah.
And now I have like the rest of my time to go to swim practice and baseball and, all the things.
Yeah.
So for me, the growth has been like having that personal freedom while maintaining, a seven-figure personal income, which has been really nice. And so I think that there was definitely a flux during the transition from partnership to me breaking apart. We saw a huge dip in revenue because until you find your the way to grow on your own, as part of the partnership dissolution, my partner like basically kept our referral sources, and so that's where we kind of needed that operating agreement, and we were able to find some like a way to resolve it professionally, I suppose. But I had to start over. And as part of that, I invested a lot in digital marketing. I mean, a lot. And we're talking like probably close to $1 million, like over the course of 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
And some firms are spending $1 million a month, right? So, but for me, that was a lot.
Yeah, of course.
And it didn't go well because I tried to throw my money at Google Ads, an expensive website, a lot of expensive SEO, which in the personal injury world, y'all, is so saturated. Like, do not rely on SEO. If you find a niche, like for the child injury cases or for like negligent security or something in particular, like the mass tort, the blogs will work, once you continue to do it. But like it's not feasible for car accidents. So that was a big mistake. It's very hard to just go try and throw a bunch of money at digital marketing. It doesn't really work because you don't have the same traction. Your Google ads not established, like the algorithm doesn't love you. So, all of that. But we were able to figure out that mistake when we didn't see like a good ROI. And then we transitioned. So I saw a big period of loss. And then like slowly, once we started focusing more on organic growth, and that's where the boutique lawyer came in, because it's people, especially on social media, are very, very tired of like car accident lawyers. Like they're, the standard like car accident lawyer post nobody engages with. So I was trying to find a way, like, how do I reach more people and then sprinkle in what I want them to know, And I did that through the boutique lawyer.
Smart, smart. So you really invested heavily in digital marketing, SEO, other kind of traditional digital marketing avenues, and you just didn't see the results. And it's interesting now you've kind of, really made a bit of a 180 where it sounds like you're not spending a whole lot on marketing, but you are seeing the leads come through. Are you relying primarily on social media to bring in new clients?
Yeah. One of my good friends and mentors is Ali Awad. He's CEO lawyer. He has been a mentor of mine for years, and he strongly encouraged me to focus more on social media growth, and it has been definitely a change for my business. So if anybody listening to this wants to go follow Ali, his CEO Lawyer Academy, and they also have a page on Instagram. I was a member in that program for a year, and it's a great way to learn how to make organic marketing work, and then how to be very judicial with your dollars when you're then do decide to invest them in digital marketing. But for my own business, I, had, and this mistake I think a lot of lawyers make that I also made. I hired like a social media manager at the beginning. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. But I mean, truth be told, you just got to do it. You have to like get out there in front of a camera and figure out, like spend the time to figure out how it works and how you can reach your audience, and like how you can reach people, even if you don't have an audience, but like, what can you do that people are interested in? Yep. That's really it. Because there's so many lawyers who have like, TikTok channels and Instagram and all different things that they're not even really talking about the law. They have like reaction videos and they have, all different stuff. But as long as you have eyeballs, you have an audience. And so again, that's where I was focusing on organic marketing, was building the boutique lawyer, because it's things that people care about on social media, at least small businesses. Granted, a lot of the leads I get are like intellectual property related, trademark, business, contract. So I have incorporated those practice areas into my own, just because like, why am I going to leave money on the floor? Money on table or whatever. Yeah. But it worked. So it is a good way to like continue to be top of mind. So a lot of my old injury clients also follow me on social media. So when they have something happen, like their daughter gets in a wreck, I'm like the first one, they DM me like, hey, Amber, like, you call my daughter, like something like that. So, they reach out to me that way. And I just encourage people to try to keep that like open channel between their clients and them. And, if you don't have the time to sit on Instagram, that's fine. Get a VA to answer those messages for you. But it's been like the key element to keeping my business like afloat and then helping me grow.
Yeah, yeah, we've actually had Ali Awad on the show. He's
Awesome.
super impressive. Yeah, I can tell that yeah, you're taking a lot of his advice, which is really cool to see you
Yeah.
implement. Specifically, take us through your start on social media. Did you start on Instagram? What platform did you start with?
Yeah, I started on Instagram. I had not had an Instagram or an active Instagram account for years. I was like I just sat there. I looked at people's pages. I was a browser. And then, you really have to find like what works for you. So if you'll scroll far enough back on my Instagram page, it looks totally different than it looks now. And that's just because I was finding out what worked for me. And so it's a lot of trial and error, but I started on Instagram, and it takes longer to get to your first 1,000 followers than it takes to get to your first 10,000.
Mm,
I'm almost at 10,000. My goal is to be there by the end of March, but it took forever. I mean, it took like, was a year and a half or 2 years. The thing that really started moving the needle, this is in an Ollie from CEO Lawyer will say the same thing. It's finding the right brand partnership for you on Instagram. So whether you're paying an influencer, so influencer marketing, like we lawyers, it's a huge opportunity for lawyers and legal professionals because the influencers are the ones that have the audiences of 100,000 plus, whether it's a radio host or a like a local like news. We have one in Atlanta called ATL Scoop. I'm just throwing names out there, but they are like a news page. It has almost 1 million followers just because people want to know the current events.
sure.
So if you can find pages like that in your local market and do some kind of like, it's a paid partnership relationship, just advertising, where they'll do a sponsored post or something in stories like that. It's a great way to start moving the needle and growing your audience, getting your content in front of new eyeballs. So that has made the difference for my business is partnering.
Yeah, and influencer marketing on social media, that's something that is sort of widely used within the business world, right? But I think there is a huge opportunity. I think you make a great point. It is underutilized when it comes to the legal space and with law firms. So I'd love to dig in a little bit in this area. So how did you kind of go about identifying those partners that would be kind of mutually beneficial, right? Not kind of a one-sided partnership.
Mhm.
And how do you approach them? Any details you can provide there?
Okay, so no cold DMs. So don't just DM somebody, like message them, email them, and ask, "Hey, I like your profile. Can I pay you to be on your page?" Now, some influencers will have like on their website when you go to their link in bio, they'll have like a collab or partnership or media package where like if you're gonna try and cold call somebody, that's how you do it, is if they put it out there on their own site, then reach out through them through their media package or their like link that they have for you. Don't send them a DM. The way to go about like approaching those relationships is actually to start organically. So follow, like you absolutely have to follow them. You can't like not follow them and ask to be on their page. So follow them, and then engage with their content. Like don't start in the DMs. Start like comment on a couple posts that actually mean something to you. Be authentic, and then send them a message like, "Oh, I love your content. It's one of my favorite follows," and let that be that. Okay, for a while, and then engage with their stuff. And a few weeks later, then you can propose it and just ask. But I wouldn't start out outright, because to be honest, I now get those and I don't even have that many followers realistically, comparatively to so many other people out there. And the first thing I do is delete them. Like I just don't, it's like it feels kind of, what do you call it, used car salesy.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
And if it feels like it's a mass approach, right? It's not tailored in any way to the specific, influencer,
Right.
and that I think that is maybe also off.
Exactly. So like you can't, yeah, your content that you're producing has to now, with the influencers are very savvy and their audiences are very savvy, it has to speak to their audience in some way. So for example, what I would do for child injury is I would go to like a mommy influencer, right? And I would talk about like safety recalls on stuff. I would talk about Johnson and Johnson baby powder cases. I would talk about things that interest their audience and not just like, call me if you're in a car accident.
Yeah.
Because they're going to see when they go to your page that you're an injury attorney, because nobody's searching on Instagram or TikTok, mind you, for injury attorneys when they actually need one. You just have to be top of mind when they do need one. So it's better just to establish that, like no trust, what's it, like no trust factor? Okay. The like no trust factor, to establish that and then be there when they need you.
Yep. Yep. And do you end those educational videos with any kind of call to action, or do you keep it kind of purely, value educational? I'm curious.
So it definitely depends. If it's a time sensitive matter and you're trying to, like, let me think of one. You know, when the disasters happen, whether it's like a concert and people get killed at it from like trampolining or things like that, with those, I really see the reason to include a CTA. Like, if this happened to you or somebody you know, call us, because time is of the essence. But if it's educational in nature, like, you don't include a CTA because they know, like, people on social media are very savvy. They understand that, this is what you do. Otherwise, why would you be speaking on it?
Yep. Would you be willing to tell us about how much we could expect to, when we're talking about sponsored posts and talking about partnering with influencers, like what kind of investment are we talking about?
Okay, so first things first, there are many influencers now who are so savvy in their own right. They have created these pages where you can go and see what other brands are paying them. One would be like FYPM, stands for like something. So I don't want to say it on your show, but if it's FYPM.VIP, I think is the page on Instagram. But they have probably the biggest one where influencers will post what they're getting paid. And if you're a brand, you can be a member of it too, to become competitive in your rates. But when I started, it depends on their audience size. You can expect if somebody has is a micro influencer, has less than 5,000 followers, you can pay a couple $100s for a sponsorship. If they are an actual influencer, they have 50,000 plus, and when you get to the 100,000, it's even more money, but 50 to 100, it's going to be somewhere in the thousands per post or per like campaign. So for example, I did a partnership with a influencer that had around 75,000 followers, but they were highly engaged. And that's something you need to look for, is not just the follower count, but like how many views, comments, likes, shares, and they should provide you with that data too. Do those accounts get? Because that's what matters. Like, anybody can buy followers, right? So you have to look at their engagement, because that is the key to whether or not their audience is buying what you're selling.
Yeah.
So I paid, I think, 7,000 a month for a partnership that really, that when I'm saying move the needle, it is really what then like got sales into my contract shop and has started me on this path where I think I'm growing anywhere from around 1,000. It's like 1,000 followers a month right now.
Wow.
And I have never had a post go viral. So I'm not, it's not like, because sometimes you get one post that goes viral, you get 15,000 followers overnight.
Yep.
But not I'm not that. So it's just slow and steady,
Yeah.
But when you're looking in that range, it's the engagement that matters and their experience. For that partnership, the one that I mentioned, so I'm not telling anybody the wrong way, it wasn't just social media posts or stories. It was also like an email campaign, because they had a really good sized email list. And that was like hugely beneficial. And if there's other things that you're using, like lead magnets, which could be like free guides for learning how to do X, Y, and Z when you're injured, or maybe it's, a different area of the law, right? You could also give lead magnets to help build something lawyers also don't do is enough email marketing to their audience. So that's something that, people could really focus on.
So you are absolutely generating new clients from these sponsored posts, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. Sales and clients.
Yeah, right. That's great. Tell us about your most popular topics on social media. What is performing best for you at this point, Amber?
Well, so the stuff, it's double-sided. Okay. So the stuff that I make the most money from is usually the stuff that doesn't look like it has the most likes. but it gets the most comments and saves. So it's something like you have to look at the comments, but on the back end, there's a ton of saves. So I posted something 2 days ago. It's like a carousel, 4 mistakes that business owners make. Last time I looked, it had 161 likes, but it had like 170 saves. And from that, I had 11, no, sorry, it's 20 people sign up just from that post for our membership. So, and when you're thinking, those are just, the boutique lawyer type sales, but the same is true for intellectual property. So, I posted a video that was like, and so here's another thing. It was a trending audio, right? It's a reel. So it was some trending sound, and I was pointing, was all I'm doing, from like an LLC to a trademark and saying that these are not the same. And it's kind of silly, but people don't understand very basic concepts in the law. So definitely do not think you have to talk about the super complicated stuff. If you're trying to reach direct to consumer or to client, it's the basics that convert. The more high level stuff is if you're like a litigation practice and you're trying to reach other lawyers, which is, you can also do that on Instagram. A friend of mine does it really well for TBIs. It's all she litigates. And her audience is lawyers. But if you're going direct to consumers, it's the basic explanation, and it doesn't always have to be like talking head. It can be like a pointing video, but it's, you go over the very basics, and that's the stuff that is most engaged on.
Yeah. I think you've repeated a couple times during this conversation. I think it's so key. It's not all about how many likes you're getting, right? Or how many followers. Like, you have to really look into, some of those other metrics. I mean, the saves, absolutely. I mean, you can imagine how valuable someone thought that content was if they're, willing to hit the save.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, what topics, excuse me, are you batch recording? In other words, are you recording, multiple videos at a time so that you have a stable to pull from, or what does your production look like?
Yeah. Okay. So I have a video editor. She's one of my full-time employees. And I try to batch record. I'll be honest, I'm not very good at it. But Ali swears by it. And I have done it plenty. And so we have hours of B-roll footage. And so that's something any good video editor can like use B-roll footage with a trending audio, put some text over the video, and those can be your best performing ones. So I do encourage batch recording. Again, I don't always do it, but if I'm going to do like an explainer video, now thinking of it, I always do a few at a time, just because you're in that mindset. So do as many as you can, and then send them to your video editor to edit. Because if you don't have a video editor, you can also do it yourself. But the video editor, like in our profession, we also have to practice law, right? So I would encourage you to make that like an important hire, because you can get, depending on their experience, like the compensation rate does not have to be astronomical. And it can be, something that's affordable for even a new lawyer.
Do you have any ongoing tracking, or do you kind of, look at your best performing videos and try and do more of that?
So, okay, I have the best video editor ever. I'm going to be honest with you. She looks at that stuff for me, and she'll say, oh, this performs really well. And she'll want me to do another one. So if you can find somebody that knows content, and when I say that, like somebody who's really into social media, like they need to be on TikTok because that's where the trends start. They need to understand like Instagram in particular, because a lot of those same trends translate well to YouTube, where your content will live a lot longer. And just understanding that you do need to keep track of it. Somebody helps me keep track of it. But I also, I encourage you not to focus, especially starting out. It can be so stressful, like, oh, nobody's liking this, nobody's saving this. It can be very discouraging, but it's a numbers game. The more videos you put out there, the more you do it, the better you're going to get, and the more your content will be seen. On Instagram, our posts have like a shelf life of 20 hours. So you put it out there, 20 hours, nobody else is going to see it unless it's gone like viral. On TikTok, I don't remember the metric. It's something similar, but on YouTube, it's like way longer. On Pinterest, it's like a month. So, there's all these different channels, and you can repurpose the same content for all of that, which I strongly encourage, because it has made a huge change in my business. And I've seen it, just numbers wise, and where the traffic's coming from, because your social media pages in particular, it's not your own property. So if you get locked out of it, if you lose it, I mean, it's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. So you have to diversify your channels. So important.
Which platforms are you on then? Instagram, YouTube, TikTok?
Well, okay, I'm on Instagram primarily. I have a Facebook account that I rarely use. I am focusing more on Pinterest this year. That's one of my goals. Because the shelf life of your content is so good and it reaches my mommy audience very well. So any female lawyers out there, look at that. But I am on TikTok. I don't know. I have a kind of like an aversion to it,
Yeah,
personal
talk to me
aversion.
about that. Yeah.
And so I'm not very active on it, but it is an incredible way to grow. One of the other CEO Lawyer Academy members, his name is Jesse Hernandez. He is the Texas Chancla. He's fabulous. By the way, get him on the podcast if you haven't already. He's so good. But he has a wildly successful TikTok presence. He started just recently, is completely blown up. He told me, even with his size audience, that he still gets more leads from like referrals from Facebook, Instagram than he does from TikTok, even with the size audience. So really need to know the target market on TikTok is much younger. And I just don't see those people hiring me more, because you have to look at who's hiring you, right? And so I'm spending time on there, but it's not going anywhere. So I'm there, but I'm just not very active. There's a lot of talk around TikTok, and that's why I bring it up. It's that, you can grow very fast there. You just have to be, understand that like you still need to find your audience that will hire you.
Yep. Yeah, you need to know where your audience is hanging out
Mhm.
up there. Absolutely. Are you putting any money into boosting posts or other social ads?
So not for my law firm. The only posts that I boost are for the boutique lawyers contract shop and the membership whenever it's open. But I do not run any legal services ads. I might in the future. I have in the past. They did not perform for me. However, some of my colleagues have like exceptional results with boosted posts on their legal services. Um, this is a test that I learned. It's like if 10% of your audience engages with a post, boost it and see what happens. Um, boost it $10 a day for 2 weeks or a month and see how it goes. If you run out of your budget during that time, like it maxes it out, it's good performing, increase the budget and keep going. If you have budget left over, that means it's not that well performing, and kill it and try something else.
Yeah, yeah, good. That is really good advice. Do you ever post kind of more direct pitch reels or videos on social? I mean, I know you're very, educational and value driven. Have you ever experimented with more direct pitch posts?
So, okay, well, no, not really. I don't do it too much. And I think it's a personal thing. I don't have a good hook. I get real like clammy when I try to sell.
Right, yeah.
It's the exact opposite of Ali Awad. He's such a good salesman. He's like, he could sell a shoe. So an old shoe, dirty shoe. But no, I can. I just don't, I think it's not authentic when I try it. But I will say this, when I'm specific talking about, like a trademark, for example, if I'm specifically talking about this trademark, this is why you need it, this is what it can do for your business, this is how you can monetize it. Everybody on social media loves that phrase, by the way. If you can monetize it, I always get legal services inquiries from those. So the more specific you are without being salesy, personally, works for me.
Yep, I think that's good advice too. Do you ever I always kind of like to ask, so now that you've kind of dialed in social media and that organic free effort, are you layering on any additional kind of paid digital marketing back into the mix?
Yeah, I am starting to actually. I have a bunch of ads that will be running here very shortly, so you may see me in your feed.
Yeah,
So yes, I am going to. I do think it's important to nail your organic style first. And that's something I wish I had known. Again, I don't know. I still don't know if I would have done anything differently because I was desperate for clients, you know. So I was just like throwing money at a problem, not understanding it. But if you understand your organic audience and you see a consistent pattern of growth, then, like I said, boost the posts, create, and then actually, this is Eddie Malouf, who is a fantastic marketer, and he's also, you can find him on social media, but he recommends that, and I follow everything he says like it's the Bible. So he recommends that if that boosted post does well, then create it into an ad in your Facebook Business Manager. So I am taking his advice, and I have several that I am going to start running as ads on campaigns. So I plan to be doing it here very shortly.
We'll have to have you back on so you can update us on those results. So Amber, before we wrap up, if a lawyer watching has time, maybe only to adopt one, two of your tips, what would you recommend?
This is the hardest question you've asked yet. I would say, okay, you have to practice putting your face in front of a camera on social media if you were developing a personal brand. That's number one. I think that was the hardest thing for me to do. And if you go look at Jesse Hernandez's page, Texas Chancla, he wouldn't mind me saying this because he will say it too. You do not have to be a GQ model, okay? Don't worry about it. I'm certainly not. But just talking in a way that's the thing that you have to practice the most, I would say, is get comfortable like relating to people. That's the number one thing to practice. And number two is trying to find your target audience. Look at your metrics and see who's actually hiring you.
Right. Yeah. And I think, just doing it, right? Like you say, getting in front of the camera, you might fumble over the first dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen, whatever it is, right? But it'll get easier, you'll get more confident, and you will find your voice and where you can really add that value, right?
Yeah. Exactly. It's a learning curve. Like my older videos, I have never archived them or deleted them. They're still there. I mean, they're terrible, but they're definitely are there.
No, I love that. I think that's really, really good advice. All right, Amber, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today. It was a sincere pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's so fun to be here. Thank you.
So much good stuff from Amber today, right? Here are the key takeaways that I see. Number one, practicing law does not have to be all consuming. Amber is to be applauded for successfully and happily combining legal practice, business ownership, and motherhood, working just 15 to 20 hours a week while running both a law firm and a digital business that together generate 7 figures. That's an impressive feat. Number two, finding sponsorship opportunities can vault your social profile to new heights. This is a first-time revelation in my 50+ interviews, which doesn't occur often, and it's a high-value takeaway. We at James are actually going to start testing this technique with our Amplifier subscribers, both with publicly available sponsorships as well as those custom-created ones. Number three, basic educational content converts best. Amber's example was explaining how trademarks and LLCs provide differing protection, right? That's a good example. It's a really good reminder that what seems simple and maybe obvious to lawyers is not for many consumers. So your video creation calendar, it should really include a healthy portion of explanatory topics. And number four, B-roll footage can have a huge time saver. It can really be a big time saver to utilize B-roll footage. Amber reports that some of her best performing videos are also the simplest ones to create. Pointing to later added text, right? Pointing, it's a quick and easy shoot, and it can be used multiple times, reused over and over again. And ditto for walking into your office, talking on the phone, keyboarding at your desktop, other similar scenarios. Okay, I hope you found Amber's interview to be educational. Hey, tune in next week. Next week's interview is with a silver-haired estate planner who has had the quickest and most success on social media of any of my nearly 50 interviews. He's an impressive guy. I look forward to seeing you back here next week. Take care. Bye-bye.